pretty happy with it. So we will, see how this lands in my rotation. Those who know me well know that I am always wearing something around my neck, most often knitted, and I have far too many shawls and cowls and scarves. And is there such thing as too many? No, I don't think there is. Well, good day and welcome to Michelle's Fiber Studio podcast. My name is Michelle and I am your host, and I am so excited to welcome you to my very first episode of my podcast. Today is Wednesday, April 10th, and it is a very cold and rainy day here in the state of Maine. We had a really pretty nice weekend. Monday was absolutely gorgeous, but today it's cold and raw. It's kind of actually back to what April in Maine is typically like. Hopefully the sun will come out again soon. I have been a knitter for the better part of 30 years. I also dabble in crochet, and I actually occasionally will also do some spinning, mostly in the summertime. I work at my local middle school as a school counselor, and although it's a very rewarding career, it is, as any of you who work in education know, can be very exhausting to work in the school system. So fiber arts is definitely my stress relief and something that I go to kind of decompress. I decided to start a podcast because I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about the projects that I'm doing and the yarn that I'm using and some of my thoughts around those. I live in South Central Maine with my husband Michael and our 2 dogs. I'm sure you will probably see them occasionally. Hopefully you don't hear them too much. We have 3 adult children. Our oldest son lives at home with us. Our daughter lives in New York, and our youngest son is finishing up his 2nd year of college. He'll actually be home later this month. We're very excited, looking forward to having him back. Before I dive into the podcast, I thought it'd be kind of fun to show you what I'm wearing. This shawl here is one that I completed not too long ago, towards the end of last month. It is the Changing Staircases shawl. The yarn is by Woolen Woman Fiber, and it was a collaboration with Natty. It is the Greatest Yarny Adventure, and I'll kind of come in a little bit closer so you can, there we go. There's the colors. It's got some yellows and greens. It actually had 2 mini skeins. I can hold it, there we go. You got the teal here, and then a little bit of a light turquoise was the other color, and I opted to stripe those in between the full skein. And then the sweater that I'm wearing is Silk and Saltwater by Mary Annarella. I actually knit 2 of these sweaters because I really enjoyed not only the pattern, but the yarn. The yarn is the Rowan Soft Yak. It's a cotton yak nylon blend, and it's really soft and comfortable, and I loved the pattern so much when I finished it. When I went back to my local yarn store, I saw she had more of the same yarn in a different color, and so I knit a second one. But this is the first one that I did. It's just in a gray. It's one of my favorite sweaters that I like to wear. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So on my blocking board, what have I finished in the last couple of weeks? I got 2 projects, I think it is 2 projects, that I want to share that I'm really excited to talk about. The first one here is a sweater. I will hold it up. It's actually still slightly damp. I probably should stick it on the blocking board when we're done. This is the Obla D sweater by Mary Annarella. I'm going to find a theme here. I love lyrical knits and I love her patterns. I actually knit this sweater last summer in its entirety, and then I tried it on after I finished it and realized it was just too tight. It was too tight. And I ripped the whole thing out completely and started over completely. So I started it, I cast it back on in November, and then I had a lot of Christmas projects that I was working on and deadline projects, and then projects that I was working on in January that I was still trying to get caught up on. So I actually didn't really pick it up for real until February, and then I just finished it this week, and I'm so excited. I honestly haven't tried it on, but I measured it on the blocking boards, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna fit. So the yarn is yarn that I got last year. We have the Fiber Frolic here in Maine, and the main yarn is from Homespun Girls. It's their Maine summer sock, and the colorway is Madeline's Tidbit. It was a fingering, or is a fingering yarn, 80/20 superwash merino nylon. There's about 462 yards and 100 grams. I had 2 skeins of that. And then I decided, I got that yarn home, and I knew that I wanted to make a sweater, but I also felt like if I could get a couple of colors to add in there to maybe make sure that I had enough yarn to complete the sweater, that would not be a bad idea. So I went to my local yarn store about half an hour away, and I picked up, I have the blue here is Malabrigo sock and reflecting pool, and the mustard is from Cowgirl Blues. It's their proper stock in the mustard colorway. So that's what I did, and I striped it through. It's got like 3/4 inch sleeves. You can see I have to cut all of my ends and weave in the ends and get all of that taken care of, but I wanted to make sure I had an opportunity to talk about that one. The second project that I finished in the last couple of weeks was a make-along. It's the Line Dance Make-Along by Lisa Ross of Paper Daisy Creations. And, oh, I probably should have given you a spoiler. Although the make-along ended, I think the last clue dropped the very last week of March. So at this point, it's probably fine. So there we go. I've never knit a cowl with this kind of design. Can you see how it's just shorter in the back, and then you've got the part in the front that hangs down. So it's kind of a really neat construction. When you put it on, it just sits there and it doesn't move. I picked up this yarn also at my local yarn store. It is the Kremke Soul Wool Edelweiss Alpaca. So it's a wool nylon alpaca blend, and they come in 25 gram skeins. So I got the 5 different colors. I actually got 2 different shades of the white. I tell you the color numbers, but they're very boring literal numbers, so not super exciting. But I got 2 different whites because I wasn't sure if I wanted this white or the other shade. And this one, as I recall, is a little brighter, and the other one was a little more, probably yellower, a little more muted, but I'm pretty happy with it. So we will, see how this lands in my rotation. Those who know me well know that I am always wearing something around my neck, most often knitted, and I have far too many shawls and cowls and scarves. And is there such thing as too many? No, I don't think there is, actually. So that's what I've completed in the last couple of weeks. So let's move on to the next segment. Okay, so in my project bag, I have several projects that I'm going to talk about today. The first one is my Terrell Dago, there you go, by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks. It's a shawl. I don't know if I can get it, there we go, get it unwrapped. So it's going to be a pretty big shawl when I'm done. It starts out there at the bottom, really small and skinny. You're working though in the in a V pattern, and then continuing to grow. And then I just recently got to the point, this side, oh, I don't want to lose the stitches on my needle. There we go. Where on one side, I now stop decreasing on this end and continue increasing on this end. So it's going to go out. So these are 3 different yarns. I saw this shawl, again, at my local yarn shop, Mother of Pearl, and I saw it on display, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the yarn that caught my eye was this puppy here. Can we get a good look at it? There we go. Is that not the most gorgeous pink? It is the Malabrigo sock. And I believe this is the Light of Love. So I saw this bright pink and I'm like, oh, I want to make something with that pink. And then I was looking around and I saw this pink here, which is on the round, I think this is the on the round nimble sock in Himalayan salt. These are merino, and this one's a merino nylon, and this is 100% merino. And then the last one is this purple, this beautiful purple, which is Avril, and it is also a Malabrigio sock. So I think they are just going together, and when we were shopping for it, my mom and I were like, that is just going to be a stunning shawl, and I am very excited. I'm working on a plan, hopefully to get this finished by the end of April. I have, I think, 3 more repeats of this stripe section, and then I get to move into a lace section with the purple, and then it finishes off with a garter section in the brighter pink. So I think that's gonna be super fun. So that is the Terrell Dago by Caitlin Hunter. So the next project I'm going to show you is Feel the Breeze. That is by Jennifer Weisman. And I barely started this one. I started it back in February. It was a kit that I actually bought from Miss Babs to be able to do this project. So you can see, I don't have much to show you. It's not very big. It's got, you work back and forth in short rows. So you can see this side is skinnier and then it gets bigger. So it makes like these rays of color. And I got a kit that is the Porto kit, and it has, if I hold up, can you see in my bag, kinda, sorta, some of the colors? Yeah, not really. I'm not gonna take them out because it would be too hard to try to hold up the 6 different colors that I have, the 6 different mini skeins. Maybe I can find a picture and actually insert it. That's what I'll try to do. And that way you can see the colors. And then I can show you, this is the main color that I'm using. It's a full skein of the Miss Babs Yummy 2-ply. This is Tempo, is this color. So I am knitting that on a size 4, 3.5 millimeter needles. And I'm working on this as I can, but I am really focusing on my Terrell Dago to see if I can finish that first before I focus a lot of attention on this one. The next project I'm going to show you is a crochet project. And this I started just recently, like I think it was last week I started it, and it is going to be a float tote by Natty. And I have what I'm using, this ginormous, look, it's like as big as my head, ginormous cone of cotton. I think Spin Right is what's on the label. Yeah, it's a 2-pound cone is what it started out as, Spin Right. But it's essentially like a sugar and cream or peaches and cream, like the Lion brand cotton. And I have had it forever. I got it at one of our agricultural fairs for like, I want to say it was like $5 for the entire cone. It was like one of those where you're like, I can't just leave that sitting there because that is just ridiculous. So it has to come home with me. And home with me it came, and at home it has sat because I really haven't done much with it. And then frankly, I'm kind of tired of having it in my stash now because it's probably been the better part of 10 or 12 years that I've had this. So I decided to cast on a float tote or hook on. I don't know what's the proper terminology for getting a project started in crochet. A float tote. You hold the yarn double, so I have a skein that I wound off of the cone, and then I'm also working directly off of the cone. So I'm hoping by the end of this week to maybe have the actual tote part of this done, and then we'll kind of move on forward again. I'm hoping to get this project done by the end of the month. The next project I have is a kit that I purchased at my local yarn shop, and it's a shawl, which I call my Americana shawl. The proper name for it is Protest, is Patriotic. But you can see it's just the red and white stripes, but on the other end you have a blue section with stars. So I thought it would be fun to have like a shawl, flag shawl that I could wear to school during or around some of the patriotic days, you know, 9/11 and Veterans Day, Memorial Day. And then it's probably one that will live on Marta, my mannequin, for a lot of the time when I'm not wearing it, or I could hang it up. I don't know, haven't really decided, but I got this kit in the summer of summer 2022, July of 2022. We had a yarn crawl and I purchased it then. The yarn is Queensland Collection United, and it is what is this? Wool cotton blend. And it comes obviously in the 3 different colors. So I'm really excited. This is one that I really, I'm also working to try to get done by the end, or by Memorial Day is my goal. So I think I figured out I have to do like 2 color repeats, the white and the red. So 4 stripes total in each week for the next 7 weeks to get the whole thing done. So that's my goal. Stay tuned. We'll see if that actually happens. And I think I have one more project in my little project bag, and I have it in this is a project bag I made myself, and I bring this one to school with me. That's why I have the carabiner on here, because I can clip it to my belt loop. And then I will stand there and knit. I have stair duty at the beginning and end of the day. At the beginning of the day, it's like 15 minutes I have to stand. But at the end of the day, because of the timing of when our buses arrive, it's almost half an hour of just standing there. And finally, I'm like, you know what? This is silly. I could be knitting. So right now, I am working on a pair of socks. These are, I'm calling my Christmas socks. They are a cuff down. That's here, I guess I should hold it this way for you. That's my preferred method, is cuff down. I do a 2x2 rib, knit on size 0 needles. And then I like a pretty long leg. It's usually about 7 or 8 inches long. And then my go-to heel, I actually have one of them done, so I'm on the second one here. How about I show you that? The completed sock. Right here. So my go-to heel is the OMG heel. I can do it practically in my sleep at this point, and then a standard foot. So I'm really hoping to get these done soon as well. We had a really big snowstorm last week. Actually, it was pretty severe, had people out of power. I think actually yesterday might have been the first day that some of them actually got it back. And I was joking with my assistant principal yesterday when I was knitting. I'm like, I think I know why. It's my fault, because I'm still knitting my Christmas socks. That's why we had snow last week. I got to get these finished. And she started to laugh. So, oh, and the sock, or the yarn rather, is from Knit Style Yarns. It's the merino nylon sock, and the colorway is Merry Grinchmas. So these are going to be super fun. These are the first pair of Christmas socks, actual Christmas socks that I have knit. So, but it is April, so it's time to get them done. I did cast them on at the beginning of November last year, and then I didn't get to finish them in time for Christmas, clearly. So if I can get those off the needles by the end of the month, that would be great too. And then we don't have to worry about any more snow, right? Right. Okay. So that's what I have for projects at the moment that are in my knitting bag. Okay, this next section I am calling Project Dreams, and this is where I thought maybe I could talk about some of the projects that are rolling around in my head that I'm thinking about casting on, maybe actually have plans to cast on, or just kind of hoping. We all have them, right? The projects in our queue. Maybe what's on deck, to use the proper baseball term. My son would be proud of me, seeing as the Red Sox had their home opener yesterday, so pull that baseball in for him. Anyway, the first project I want to talk about is the Amayo. It's a shawl. I'll try to put a picture in here for you. And it is a brioche shawl, which I have never done brioche, so I'm kind of excited to give that a try. And I saw this shawl and the yarn, which I should have grabbed the yarn. I didn't grab it, but I have some yarn that I picked up. We have a local event that we call it Spa. There are vendors that come in, but people will just come in from all over kind of New Englandish area. and we'll stay in some area hotels, and it's like a retreat. It's more of a retreat than it is anything else. Oh, the dog's gonna keep barking. No, I think they're good. Sorry, they're gonna make an appearance at some point. Like I said, I have 2 dogs, Molly and Tika. Love them to bits, but they can be a pain in the neck sometimes. Anyway, at Spa, I saw this shawl on display, and so I bought 2 skeins of I don't think I made a note. I have it's a merino nylon blend and a mohair, both from the same vendor. So I'm kind of excited to do that too, because I haven't done a ton with mohair. So I'm really itching to get that cast on. I have a decent size stash. Maybe at some point I can give you a stash tour. I'm pretty comfortable with my stash, but I also kind of am at a space where when I buy new yarn, I want to cast it on as soon as I can, so that it doesn't end up in long-term stash, because that's what I'm finding right now, is most of what's in my stash is stuff that I've had for a long time and I still really like, but then I get new yarn that is more interesting, more exciting, right? We all know, ooh, pretty. And then we cast those things on. So I'm trying to prevent any new yarn that comes into my house from ending up kind of in the deep stash. So I bought this in February, so it certainly is not in any danger of hitting deep stash quite yet, but usually if I can get it cast on within a year or so, I consider that a win. So if I can get my Terrell Dago finished, then I think I'm gonna go ahead and cast on the Amayo, and I'm really hoping to get that started soon. Maybe even next week. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I have 3 shawls on the needles already. But next week is vacation week. It might be fun to have a fun project for vacation, right? Ooh, I might talk myself into it. This could be a problem. The next project that I'm hoping to cast on that's kind of been rolling around in my head for probably a couple of months now is I think I want to do a Boxy. I'm always behind the times, always. I finally knit my first Musselburgh hat last fall. So it takes me a little while to catch up, but I get there eventually. So there's that. But I think I want to do a Boxy. And initially when I saw the Boxy, I'm like, oh, that's just oversized. I don't know if I like that, but I've seen it more and more, and I'm kind of feeling like it's kind of cute if it's not over Boxy or oversized. So I have some yarn again, which would be deeper stash. So that's the other good thing, is I have some like a magenta purple that I think would be really pretty in that Boxy, and I think it would be a really cool project, or a sweater to add to my wardrobe rather. So that's another one that I'm hoping to get started in the near-ish future. And then the last project that I have kind of rolling around in my head is I want to knit a yarn cozy. Do I have? Ooh, I do, in my sock yarn, my sock bag here. Yes. So the yarn cozy, which is by Knitty, Natty, which this one totally does not match the yarn that's inside. Pay no mind to that, right? But I have the rest of this yarn, and I think it would be really super fun to knit a yarn cozy, and I think I have just enough from the main color and then the 2, you can see the 2 colors, the lighter blue and the teal that I striped in, so to kind of have a stripy cozy using up all of those colors. So I'm hoping to get that cast on. I'll probably do that next week. That'll be fairly quick, and it'll be a fun little project to do while I'm on vacation next week. So yeah, so those are my dreams. So stay tuned to see how quickly those dreams materialize. This next section I am calling On My Yarn Shelf, and this is where I thought it would be fun to talk about new fiber acquisitions that come into my life, whether it's yarn or accessories or whatever it is. So this first yarn here is my Yarnables yarn. I do subscribe to the Yarnables box, monthly subscription box by Hypnotic Yarn. It's got a pinker tone to it than what is coming in the camera here. But the name of this one is Life is Short, Eat the Donut, which is super fun. So this is really pretty. I don't know what it will be. My Yarnables yarn is one. I love this yarn. It's a merino, Superwash merino nylon base, and it's really soft. It knits up really, really well, both for socks and shawls. I knit last year a whole bunch of shawls for all my nieces for Christmas, and I used the Yarnables yarn. This is really, it's become a yarn that I like getting and just putting on my shelf as something that I can go to when I need yarn for whatever might pop up. So this is the one yarn that I allow into my house kind of guilt-free. It doesn't have to get used right away. So, and I've been getting some really fun colors that I probably would not have necessarily purchased either. So that's one of the reasons I like getting it, because it gives me some really good gift yarn options. So the second yarn that I'm going to show you was a gift that I got. My birthday was last week, and one of the teachers at my school gifted me this yarn. It is so gorgeous. Look at it. Thank you, Nicole. It is by Lichen and Lace, and so there's a skein here. Oh yeah, see that purple? Oh, these are my colors. I can't wait. I don't know what I'm gonna make yet, but it's gonna be something gorgeous. So it is by Lichen and Lace. This is the matte sock, and Pressed Flowers is the name of the color, and then the mohair is Pressed Flowers as well. So they coordinate. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to knit something together, if I'm going to do something with them independently. Nicole was telling me how she will often pair mohair with a lighter colored base, like a sock yarn that's a lighter color, solid, so that way the color of the mohair is really what shows it's really soft. And then that would leave me the, or maybe I'll get a different color mohair to hold with this one. Could do that too, right? See, I got options. But anyway, super fun, super beautiful, and I can't wait to work with these. Okay, this next section I am calling Random Knitting Fact. I thought it would be fun to have a random knitting fact for each podcast. I love history, so this will be kind of a fun thing for me to go digging and seeing what we can pull about a history of knitting. So for today's knitting fact, I got this from Fact Finder, by the way, and most of you probably know this, but knitting was initially a male-only occupation. When the very first knitting union was established in Paris in 1527, women weren't even allowed to join. Isn't that crazy? Just how interesting and how things have flipped and switched. I think now that we're in the 2000s, there's more male knitters than there were certainly earlier in earlier decades. But that's just so fascinating that women weren't allowed to join the union when that was first formed. So that is your fact for the day. Okay, and this last section is I'm calling Day to Day, and I thought I would just talk a little bit about my life and what's been going on. We've had two big, and they're actually both meteorological, ooh, that's a tough word, phenomena that I will be talking about. But first, last week we had, as I alluded to earlier, we had a major snowstorm that hit the state. And this has happened before. It's not completely unusual to have snow in April, or even plowable snow in April. This particular storm, though, came through, and the storm system just kind of parked over the state of Maine, and it started on a Wednesday night, and then it didn't really fully pull out until some point on Friday, like midday Friday. And in the meantime, it dropped from anywhere from 6 to 8 inches to as much as almost 2 feet of snow in some parts of the state. This time of the year, when it snows in Maine, it is really wet and heavy snow. So in a lot of the snow that fell overnight Wednesday into Thursday. And so we woke up to a lot of power outages in the state. The branches were just laden with snow. And it took actually for some areas to get their power back, or they didn't get their power back until earlier this week. I think for the most part everybody has power at this point, but it was a pretty hefty storm. In my school district, we had remote learning days on both Thursday and Friday. So that was nice. At least we didn't have to go out. And we start the school year with 3 actual traditional snow days. And then after that, any additional ones that we use are just remote days. So we do have a fixed last day of school, which is kind of good. So we got the I don't want to say laziness, but the low key day of being home in a snowstorm, but our last day of school isn't ended. I wasn't a big fan of the remote days when they first started, but I have to say I'm starting to come around and kind of enjoying that. So that made last week really an interesting week. And then this week we had, I'm sure nobody knew that this was happening, but did you know we had a solar eclipse? Why, yes, we did. It's only been all over the news for the last couple of weeks, hasn't it? But it was actually really cool. I laugh and I joke, but the solar eclipse came through on Monday, and Maine, New England, but Maine had a path of totality in parts of the state where you could go. Where I am at, we were about 98%. And a lot of school districts in the area dismissed the kids early at noon, so that way they would be home. Part of it was they didn't want them to be out because the totality was occurring around 3:30 in the afternoon, which is when a lot of kids would be on the buses. And so they didn't want to worry about kids looking at the sun when they shouldn't. And my district actually provided eclipse glasses for all students and staff, so that was really cool. I went and I visited with my mom that afternoon after we were released, and then we watched the eclipse together. I'll put a picture in of us with our eclipse glasses. And it was really actually quite cool and quite fascinating to see, even with only being in the 98%. So that was kind of a fun thing and a unique thing. I won't, as I understand it, be around for the next total eclipse that comes through the state of Maine. It was a absolutely pristine and perfect, beautiful, sunny, warm day for the beginning of April. I think God was blessing us after the big snowstorm that came through at the end of last week, and we could not have asked for a more perfect day. There was not a cloud in the sky. It was just incredible. And I think I read somewhere that in the state of Maine, there is like a 80% chance of it being cloudy on any given day in April. We don't tend to have a ton of sun in April, so for it to fall on the eclipse day and to be just perfectly beautiful was really phenomenal. We had tons of people coming from out of state and driving up into those areas where the viewing was totality. I saw in a news report that in one part of the state where normally it would take about 20 minutes to drive from one point to another, was taking like an hour and a half after for everyone to make their way back down, because it's a little bit more north and a little more rural and remote. So it's not like it's all highway driving to get to where you wanted to be. You get about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive off of the highway before you get to those sections where totality was really in the best viewing. So that was kind of cool. That was the big events, the 2 big events that we had. Other than that, it was pretty quiet. Didn't do a whole lot. So that is my day today. So that is all I have for today. I thank you so much for listening and for giving me a try. Again, I don't know where this is going to take me. We're just kind of rolling with it and going to have some fun. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Knittin' Michelle. And if you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you'll always know when I post a new video. But for now, happy knitting!